I'm taking a video of you slowpokes coming out of the field. Children of the corn.
The thing you can't
Children of the corn.
Oh, Lord. Definitely.
Is it slow motion?
No.
Of the corn, indeed. I was looking to see if there was any corn.
Hey, Scotchy Bourbon Boys, Tiny here to introduce you to William Dalton Bottled and Bond Wheated Bourbon. Made from a mash bill of 70% corn, 20% wheat, and 10% two-row caramel malt. This 4-year aged, double pot distilled, non-chilled filtered bourbon has a creamy mouthfeel that brings refined and sweetened notes of caramel and clover honey, followed by tart cherries. The finish is horehound candy, blackberry, and dark fruit character. Their spirits are available for tasting and purchasing inside the French Lick Winery and Distillery. The spirits of French Lick. Respect the grain. Please enjoy responsibly.
How's it going? Hey guys.
16-minute break. Can I get you? All right, man. Water? No one right here.
I'm definitely
Right,
interested
we're
in.
gonna try the ham mash from our family.
Absolutely, that's what I just stood in line for.
Well, yeah.
Someone said the ham was here, and so
The ham is here for a period of time.
until it's gone.
All right.
Thank
You'll
you
cut me a
all.
piece of
you're
ham?
welcome. Go ahead. Oh,
I'd be honored if
yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
let me have a knife.
It'd be dangerous, right?
Oh yeah. That's one thing everybody should know. You're not making the trough though, right?
Nope.
Thanks, man.
Legal would probably get us in trouble.
Yeah.
That.
Oh, that's good. You guys did a great job last night too.
Thanks.
I know you got it down.
Never know. Never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, your mom told me about her mules.
Oh, yeah. Sure. How's it going?
Good.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, you're welcome.
Drinking bourbon, sipping on some scotch. We get a little wild, but it's sure fun to watch. We love what we do, we're drinking every brew. Man, we talk some shit, but we're telling the truth. Yeah, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, raisins in hell and making some noise. Yeah, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. We're here to have fun and we hope you enjoy. We're here to have fun, yeah.
All right, we are here at Kentucky Bourbon Festival with Master Distiller and my friend Fred Noe. I'm glad to have you here.
Glad to be here, Jeffrey.
It's been a rough little last couple years, and but overall, from when I first met you to where you are right now, received, especially health-wise.
Oh, yeah.
It's been
Been good.
Yeah, for sure. But also from even just 2019 when you signed my payment,
Right.
that year, and I got to meet you guys and get to know to now. Talk a little bit about how the distillery and the industry have changed a little bit towards what you guys are putting out.
Well, now we actually have the Fred B Noe Distillery,
Right.
which is a craft distillery for Freddie to always call it Freddie's Playground. I mean, he was just speaking that they've already done 27 different mash bills in the last year. And it's a scaled down version of our big distillery.
Right.
So, you can't really experiment with 40,000 gallon fermenters, and really experiment. You got to pretty much play safe bets because, a bad bet, that's a lot of mash and a lot of whiskey to do something with. But when you got a scaled down 8,000 gallon fermenter, you don't have to make quite as much, and you can try some more, I guess you'd say, crazy stuff.
Right.
Freddie's trying different mash bills, and he's got a team with some chemists who can actually analyze the whole process from the grinding of the grain to the filling of the barrel, all in the Fred B Noe Distillery. I thought you had to be dead before they named buildings after you. But, when they named it, I said, y'all know something I don't. What the hell's going on? But yeah, it's pretty cool to walk in and see Freddie and his team doing what they do on a day in, day out basis. And they're also producing liquid that we're using. They're doing the Bookers, they're doing the Bakers there, the Claremont Steep, single malt is being made there. So it's a production facility and a research facility.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right, and then like what you're talking about, like for instance, has Jim Beam ever done a single malt?
Never had.
Right, so that's the first thing, and you're able to do that. I remember initially when Freddie was talking about experimenting exactly what you said, not only was it the fermenters, but it was running on the still. And the still's set for certain temperatures to run, and he said it used to piss the engineers off.
Yeah, you can't be, monkeying with the steel and doing, when they're trying to run Jim Beam. I mean, those are the workhorses, the Boston plant, the Booker Noe plant, the Claremont plant. They got to keep Jim Beam supplied. So you can't take a week off to play with some experimental mash bills, some different fermentations. All of that, can be done at the Fred B Noe Distillery, and it doesn't disrupt the day-to-day operations at the big plants.
So how much does Freddie from time to time, now that he has his craft distillery, come to you? Because I mean, it's a smaller size, scaled down, but the problems have to be similar.
The problems are still there, but a lot of them, they've ironed out a lot of the tough stuff, but they don't really, there's not much that they haven't already seen at the big distillery. It's just a scaled down version of a problem. When you start doing the experimental mash bills, how's the grain going to mash? What's the temperature? Is it going to make rye balls? Is it going to do this? You just got to play with it, and they've learned a lot just by trial and error. And it just slows them down. But when they slow down, it's not that bad because they're not disrupting the big boy every month or whatever.
Right.
So you were talking a little bit about how you've got the distillery named after you. But remember how Freddie went into this. Although Sandy tells me that when he was younger, he told you there's no way he's doing it, and you guys said okay. But at the same time, this transition, and I've had 4 kids, and there's always that transition period, and we've all lived it, and as parents, we're scared because when we lived it, a lot of times we almost didn't get through where we were going, or we were glad we made the right decisions, but at the same time, he kind of made the right decision right away, and it's kind of exciting to see him at 36 at this point because he's been right there with you the whole way. Right?
I mean, I'm the luckiest father around. I mean, very few fathers have their sons follow in their footsteps and take the business forward. And I got a lot of friends that have sons, and they wish that the businesses would go forward. A lot of times it stays the same. Sometimes it goes backwards. But Freddie has seized this opportunity and went for it. Like I told him, I said, be you. Don't go in there and be me. There was never any pressure for him to do it. I mean, Dad always told me, don't bank on this being here. in the 70s, when I was in high school, Dad said, the distilleries were shutting down. Everybody's inventories were off the roof. Bourbon was in the shitter. Nobody gave a damn. You couldn't have this bourbon. There wouldn't have been 20 people at this bourbon festival in 1974. So Dad said, you got to get college before we're going to put you to work. So after 8 years and a lot of his money, I finally got out of college. But, that was just kind of the way it was back then. Dad really didn't know if this bourbon thing was going to, because everybody was seeing decline. Nobody was seeing growth.
Right.
You talk to Jimmy Russell, the guys that were lived to it. I could say Elmer and Parker, but, they've all passed on. And, the guys that lived it, most of them are no longer with us. So, those guys were trying to figure out a way to rekindle the fire under this bourbon category. So it's kind of wild to, so I did the same thing with Freddie. I said, hey, do what you want to do. Because this is more than a 9-to-5 job. This master distiller, you're on key pretty much 24 hours a day if you don't watch it. They'll send you to, like Monday I head to Scotland, for an off-site meeting. But, Freddie, they want him to be at the distillery making whiskey and then be on the road trying to sell it. So, it's a little different than it was back in the 70s. But the thing was, you got to let him be his decision. And like I always told him, be you. It's your ride, not mine. I'm proud as a peacock of him. But what he's doing is great. But, I'm not telling him what to do. Because what he does, he brings samples home. We taste. Then he tells me what it is. I don't want to know up front. He just wants to know, you like it? What would you do different? So I'm just kind of like it's a sounding board for him. And he can take what I say and go either change it or do whatever he wants to do.
Well, I think, I was in August, and my dad mentored me, and as I went on, and then he's coming into his own. But there was never a time where I didn't want to. I always respected my dad, and there's a family bond, and you guys go through. I'm sure, like all families, sometimes bump heads and whatever. But at the same time, having you here for him is invaluable.
Oh yeah. I'm sure there's times when he wishes I was 1,000 miles away. And probably there's times he wants me to be a step ahead of him. But that's the thing. We don't own the company, so we're just employees like everybody else. So a lot of people think we own Jim Beam. But it's not that. We're employees. There's times we both get frustrated. Well, management and decisions and stuff. But you got to deal with the politics and do what you got to do.
And that's what always makes some creative person. That's his creativity, a skilled person. When you can do the management and the manipulation. There's manipulation to get what you need to do. Because if you just go, it's my way or the highway, that just doesn't work. Sometimes it works, but not always.
Not at Beam, it ain't gonna work. They ain't gonna.
Yeah, you got to let them think that they thought it up.
Right. There's a lot of, and Freddie's got a great team, and they all work together and kind of hash out a lot of problems, and a lot of ideas folks come up with, want them to try. You can't do some of that stuff, but you got to satisfy the upper management. Sometimes they like to do this, and a lot of times after you show them it won't work, then it goes away.
And then one of the other things, the lineage, which sold out too, which is here today. Talk about that.
That was, the lineage product. It was actually our former CEO, Matt Shattuck. He wanted to do something for global travel retail, and so Freddie and me got together, had some old Jim Beam barrels that were, like 15 years old, and they tasted remarkable. The balance was great. Wasn't too woody, which that was my biggest fear. How woody's this stuff gonna be? But the balance was good. So we actually did it for global travel retail right before COVID. COVID hits, none of the cases shipped. The airports were the first things they shut down. So how you gonna sell whiskey in an airport if the airport's not open? So now, instead of just letting it be destroyed and bring the whiskey back, we're selling at our visitor center. And we had some up here today. So, it's kind of cool to be able to be the first project we worked on together and to do it for our mutual friend, Matt Shattuck, who was our CEO at the time. Made it real special for Freddie and me to do this for our friend. And, it was always good,
So does it surprise you? I laid the money down for it because it's something special to me, knowing you and Freddie and it's in this beautiful wood box and it's in this beautiful bottle and everything. But does it surprise you that many people lay down that kind of money at this point? I mean, compared
Absolutely. I mean,
how about for the bottle that they're probably never going to open?
I would tell people, open it and drink it. I'm just like Dad, you know. People would say, I'm never going to open this. He said, so I'm not going to sign this bottle. Why not? He said, this stuff's for drinking. It ain't for saving. I mean, because if you got kids, when you're on a trip or you're out of the house, your kids are going to drink it. They don't give a shit.
Not only are they going to drink it, but then they're going to fill it back up with water. And
Maybe.
I mean, that's one thing I told all my kids when I started getting into this. I said, you can drink it. I got enough because people send me it and I've got it. But please don't wreck it.
Don't water it down.
Yeah, just it can go down.
That's the first thing we check when people send bottles back. They got a complaint. Check the proof. When it's 30 proof, you know somebody's watered it down.
That actually happens. That they complain.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
I mean, if you had a bottle of Beam you've been drinking on, and all of a sudden it tastes like shit, you know, you're gonna say, and it's still full. Why does my Beam taste so bad? If you didn't notice that the fill height came back up, then they start calling Beam. I got this bottle of Jim Beam. It tastes like crap. You know, so can we get it? Well, then, you know, the sales guys will go to them, give them another bottle of Beam to replace it, bring it to us, you know, send it to the plant. First thing I do is check the proof. And when the proof's way down, we got an answer. And if the proof's up there, then we got to start doing a little more digging. That doesn't happen very often.
But you want to know if something actually was wrong, you want to know about it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we retain samples so we can look on the bottle and tell what date it was bottled. Go back and get a retained sample out of that same tank and compare them. So there's a lot of things we can do to see if really is this product defective or is something happened to it from the time it went in the bottle to the time this consumer opened it up and took a drink.
That's awesome.
How long do you retain those samples?
3 years.
You look at that right on. He knows exactly.
Oh, I know.
Well,
I know.
that's what happens when you're the master distiller.
Yeah, he just knows the retained samples, you know, and they used to we give them to our employees. Then the government said we can't be giving away all that whiskey.
Yeah, I can see that. They're not getting their cut then, right?
No
Yeah,
cut.
yeah.
No, a lot of the labels, you know, are scuffed and bad, but the liquid inside, you know, what we're worried about. We ain't worried about what the bottle looks like. It's going to sit on the shelf for 3 years.
Right. So overall, you know, you've come and seen, you know, like you said, where you've come from to where you are now. What's the thing you most enjoyed about what you were doing?
A lot of it's just watching Freddie, you know, do what he's doing, and then just like over there watching him on stage, seeing him do what I did, but yet putting his style to it. He's not trying to be me. You know, I mean,
be on the stage with people who I read about these two when I was just getting started. It's really cool to be on the same stage as them. So kind of a dream come true.
That's awesome. To make you feel old, he's reading about it.
That's right. I mean, hell, I just turned 36 yesterday. But, hell,
36 this season.
Should be feeling old yet.
Yeah. I'm gonna go give a little bit of this to your mom and daddy. While you talk about growing up in his shadow and operating in his shadow.
You know, I think I'll say I'm the luckiest, and I'd say everybody says the same, but, you know, having an opportunity to come in and follow in your dad's footsteps and your granddad's footsteps, who you really look up to as well, I look at it, people say I'm lucky or I had a great opportunity, and I agree 100%. It was really much about that, is how do I take this opportunity and make the best out of it, from learning things from my dad, learning, you know, as Brent mentioned, there's generational talent that sits in our distillery. I look, there's a guy right over there, he was laughing at me. He was one of my first mentors in the distillery. Dave Phillips worked for us at Boston. And the team that he worked with spent a lot of time with my granddad. So when I first came in the distillery, I was learning the kind of quote unquote modern way of whiskey making with the computer. But there was a couple of fellas who hand spun steam valves, you know, for my granddad to make sure we're hitting those temperatures. So to be able to learn how we make whiskey today, but understand how it got to where it is through literally the guys that were turning the valves was a great opportunity. And then I live next to my dad, so going home, it's like, do we continue to talk about work or do we take a break? But most of the time, the stuff we're talking about at work, it's great to have his input, right? It's kind of like a muse at the end of the day. You go work and you learn, then you come home like, what do you think about this? Or have you heard, did Granddaddy ever talk about this or any of that? So I think just being surrounded by a lot of people who understood whiskey, really, again, from my granddad to how we're doing it today, it's been a great opportunity. And also just, really him stepping aside and allowing me to kind of be myself, I think was the biggest thing I'll say is when I first started talking, I think it was a Father's Day event at the distillery. I was so freaking nervous to sit beside him and talk. What I was going to say was he going to say, gosh, damn, that ain't right. What the hell are you talking about? I never
wouldn't
done
say
it.
that, would he?
No, maybe off camera. He might not say it from up here, but he would have behind doors. What the hell are you talking about out there? But I think, as Brent said, just the more you're talking about the things that you are passionate about and you're sharing it with people like this that are as passionate from another lens, it becomes so easy to sit here and talk about it, right? I'm not trying to talk about a science equation on a board. I'm talking about the whiskey that I made and I watch age. It's literally the funnest and easiest thing. So having a lot of those great mentors, and then my dad, pushing me to be myself versus, worrying about what his image is or how we work together. It's always been about highlighting as he calls it, my ride. It's my ride. People would ask him, what's Freddie want to do? Where does he want to work? You've got to talk to him. That's his ride. Mine's going on, and that's the greatest thing is him being able to step aside and allow me to kind of step into my own role and vision as well.
Be yourself. Be Freddie Noe. You're not Fred. It's like Booker told me. Don't let them marketing people try to get you to be me. One girl said, when you sign bottles, you need to sign them Fred Booker Noe. I told Dad, and he said, bullshit. You're Fred. Fred Noe. I said, okay, yes, sir.
Well, it's kind of cool because sometimes you talk to the older people in the industry and they refer to you as Freddie. Because at one point you were Freddie, right? To some people.
I was until my son was born.
Right.
My dad said, he's Freddie, you'll be Fred. Yes, sir. I'm Frederick Booker Noe the third. He's Frederick Booker Noe the fourth.
Right.
And we got little Booker up there. He's Frederick Booker Noe the fifth. Now he's only 5 years old, but there's three of us now. So if everybody was called Freddie, three of us would look up.
Right.
And it's funny when the grandson hears somebody talk about Dad. They said Booker did this, Booker did that. He said, I didn't do that. Because he's Booker, but he doesn't realize that there was a Booker before him.
Yeah, the same thing. She was talking about Booker's. She said to me, Booker's birthday is last week, and she didn't know when you guys were going to celebrate.
That's part of it.
Right.
They were doing stuff.
Right. And so, but I thought initially it was your dad's. In my head, that's where I went to, but it's just like, no, little man. And just like, so,
Right. The boss.
Yeah. Well, that is the problem when everybody's named the same a little bit. Yes, but it
go by numbers. I'm 3.
He's
4.
Yeah, you just got to be. Hey, 3.
Right.
All right.
But yeah, it's kind of wild.
So Booker, little Booker, is how old now?
5.
So you're already talking to him about?
Oh no, that's the thing. Everybody thinks that as soon as you're born, it's like, Prince Charles. You're the next heir apparent to the throne. I didn't let the kids be kids. Freddie's got a 14-year-old daughter, and she's already talking about what would it take to be the best ever master distiller. And Freddie said, it ain't gonna happen. She said, why? You gotta follow me, he told her. And I'm gonna be the best. But that's just, Freddie, and he likes to challenge her. And so that's the thing, he's into the soccer. Be a kid. Don't worry about being an adult when you're 14 years old.
That's from our perspective, that's for sure.
That's what you got to do. You got to let them be a kid. Don't put any pressure on them to be a distiller. Hell, that's one thing Freddie, when he did his internship, former CEO, Matt Shattuck, who I mentioned earlier, told him, he said, look, Freddie, you don't have to follow in your father's footsteps. We've got marketing jobs. We've got accounting jobs. We got everything at Beam. You don't have to be a distiller. You can be a bottling. You can do whatever. I think it maybe opened his eyes. Kids don't want to do exactly what their dad did. Shit, they want to kind of do their own thing. But then after a while, they figured he'd give it a try, just like I did. That's a good job. Everything worked out.
Yeah, and it keeps the whole thing going. That's the, but there's gonna you never know.
Jimmy ain't gonna stop if Braley or Booker decide they don't want to be distillers.
Right.
You can bet they're gonna keep on rolling right up that track.
That's one thing that you know about whiskey from the 1700s. I mean, I've always been so respectful of whiskey because the United States wouldn't be the United States without whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of intermingling between the history of the U.S. and the history of whiskey. I mean, every kind of event, there was something going on. Yeah. They drank a little whiskey, except for Prohibition, but people still drank whiskey.
Right.
And then go underground and do it.
Yeah, and then the underground people made all the money, and the government didn't make it, and we went into the Great Depression.
And we were going to solve all the social problems of the U.S. by getting rid of beverage alcohol.
And we destroyed the country for a while because even the grain, you're talking about all the Dust Bowl, that's because they weren't growing corn and wheat for whiskey. Well, if you don't, what are you going to do with it if you're not making
blow
whiskey?
Away.
And then, they don't teach that in the history books, do they?
Right. No. They don't
Not the real
whiskey.
history.
Not the kids in school.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. And
my pleasure.
I'm glad we got to finally be able to do this.
Having hooked up.
Yeah, for sure. And with everybody, that's I'm almost speechless, and that's rare. So thank you so much.
I can't believe you're speechless.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. For if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die.
Hey, Scotchy Bourbon Boys fans, this is Alan Bishop, Indiana's alchemist of the Black Forest. So I'm tuning in here today to tell you all about the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute channel on YouTube. If you're at all interested in the art of distilling, whether it be home distilling or professional distilling, and the intense geekery that goes into that process, then check out the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute on YouTube. I promise you're going to learn something you didn't know before about the arts.
Hey, Scotchy Bourbon Boys, Tiny here to tell you all about Rosewood Bourbons and Rye. The bourbon that implicated Andy Dufresne in a double homicide he did not commit in the classic movie Shawshank Redemption. Initially produced in California by General Distillers in the 1930s and originally called Lewis Hunter's Rosewood Bourbon, master blender Jason Giles has brought back Rosewood to you by purchasing plus contract distilling barrels of bourbon in Kentucky and Indiana. Once they mature, he ships them to Texas, where he ages them for at least another summer in the Longhorn heat. The Rosewood Kentuckian Blend and the Rosewood Single Barrels offer a unique bourbon and rye experience. Please drink responsibly and never drink and drive.